liquor store because of our volume, but a little bit high. I'm wondering, what is your council wishes? Should we explore putting a fee in place? I know Otter Tail County does charge a fee if you want to use a credit card. You pay an extra fee for that. And there's some businesses in town too that do the same. So I thought before we kind of delve into that and come up with something, I'd like to get your opinion if that's something we would look at. As far as a frame of reference, we pulled up a summary for 2019, and our general government fees are about just under $70,000 total for what we've paid out in credit card fees. So that would be something we'd look at trying to recover if we put it in as a percentage or a minimum, convenience fee kind of thing.
Can you say that number again, Bill? I'm sorry.
About 70,000
In fees?
in fees. You figure
That's including the liquor store.
Nope. The liquor store is about $101,000 in fees, which of course go into the price of the product because we're a retail establishment.
So how,
That's why I'm here this morning, because I went, wow, that is really high. It's gone up over the years.
can I ask you another question on that?
Absolutely.
Right now it's wrapped, because, we're meeting the costs, right? So how is it wrapped in now? It's just the increased fees for everybody?
Pretty much.
Sure.
And we haven't been increasing fees based on this.
But it's the cost of doing business.
Exactly. It's the cost of doing business.
Raise the fees at some
Yeah.
point.
When this started out, we're down in the $15,000 range, but as it's grown over the years, the usage of it.
I would, have we shopped around for lower fees?
We have, yep. Compared that a few different times, because of course there's always people knocking on our door that want to provide that. So our rates have been pretty good, but
Who do we use now?
through US Bank
Okay.
for our main, and RevTrack as well.
Caroline?
And then one more follow-up to that. And the liquor store is a company called Cayenne, and we have to use them for the liquor store, but the rates are competitive because of our point-of-sale system.
Interesting.
Does that include like all the like when people pay their bills on the website too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would that change with the change of the website? Is that maybe more a Lynn question?
We're currently using RevTrack for that, so we would have to look at, I'm sure that would work with our new website, but do we
We'd like
want?
to change companies we're working with, we just haven't made that decision yet.
Okay. Do you have any idea what their fees would be in comparison to?
Nope. So, like I said, I have done zero analysis on this yet. I'm just opening the conversation because I thought, well, this is a big number, and so I come with no recommendations today, but
Brent, did you have a question?
I know that, is it a set fee or is it a percentage?
for us, it's a percentage.
And do we know what that is?
I don't have that on the top of my head.
So you mentioned Otter Tail County. Do they just have a?
I believe it's a percentage.
Or you pay a certain amount more?
If you pay if you go to if you want to go and pay your tabs for your car, or vehicle, then you pay
A percentage
obviously
of the
a
bill.
percentage of the bill.
Yeah.
3% or something,
Yep.
like whatever it is?
I think the consensus would be maybe to get staff to look at it and come back.
Yeah.
I think so too.
We'll put together a recommendation. I just,
And then can we look into that website piece too?
absolutely. Yep.
One quick follow-up on the liquor store, that, those fees are definitely necessary because it's been shown that when customers can use their card, they tend to spend more.
Right.
So that, it's good for the budget.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
retail is different than coming in and paying your water bill.
Right.
Like it's just a regular.
Yep, water bills, permits, fees, special assessments, so,
Loans through the different loans.
And
right, the
usually,
loans.
a good ballpark number to use for that fee that they charge is about 1.5%. It's in that neighborhood, so.
Yeah. And I'm thinking our fees here at City Hall might be slightly higher than that. Like I said, the liquor store is more
Yeah.
competitive because of volume, but our volume here, because they're separate providers, so. But we will explore all those options. We'll look at the website option too, as far as, do we move away from RevTrak and look at a different way of doing that? So,
Sure.
okay, we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is the Seltz land donation. We'll call on our city administrator, Andrew Brumson.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. Members, good morning. I was approached here within the last few weeks by Alfred and Connie Seltz. They own 2 parcels of property. Both are very small parcels located in the northwest quadrant city calling to entertain this morning. And in talking to Public Works, it wouldn't be a big burden for us. We already do work in the area with snow removal. There is one sidewalk that runs along the property that would have to be maintained, and then there's a small area that would need to be mowed. But because of the work we do in the area, it wouldn't be too burdensome, and we feel we can do that within our existing operation. The location is desirable in the sense that this is a very busy intersection near the school, and when I went out and looked at this, my first thought was, maybe there's an opportunity here for whether it be benches overlooking the levee or a public art installation along that corner that can really represent the city well with folks that are coming to the school from out of town and that are traveling through that corridor. So that's the request this morning. If the city is willing and wanting to accept this land donation from the Seltz family, recommending to the council that we move that forward to Monday night. And then on Monday, I would be seeking authorization to execute appropriate documents and get that process started with the city attorney.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, I think
Questions, Tom?
that'd be a great place for, like you said, some kind of art or benches and info board someday, maybe, message board. So I think that's a really good idea. I'd say we do it.
Motion to move that.
That is a motion to move that to Monday night.
Thank you. Tom?
I'll offer this.
Thank you. Krista, any other questions or comments? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Andrew. Item number 3 is a Pebble Lake boat access. Call our city engineer, Brian Ybarra. Good morning, Brian.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor and members. Before you is in regards to public improvement 6072. This is the Pebble Lake Public Water Access Improvement. If you recall, the City Council accepted a DNR agreement from an amount of $250,000 to improve this particular public access. This was passed through Resolution 147-2019. Because of this, I laid out a preliminary budget. We're trying to maximize using city staff. I'm proposing that we use city staff for topographic collection, construction administration, and some preliminary design and reviews, and not to mention solicitation. However, I requested a proposal from Interstate Engineering to do the actual design for this particular boat landing. They provided a proposal in the amount of $22,000. I've reviewed this with them, and I believe recommend we proceed with that. So with the projected amount of $250,000, I pretty much had to somewhat work backwards to try to estimate what a construction contract could be. I'm estimating about $200,000. However, through design, once we get to that point, we'll be able to establish costs a little bit better and have a better understanding to see if I got to look for a few extra funds to make the project come to fruition. If acceptable, like I said, I mentioned I'll be doing data collection. I just visited the site yesterday, and I think next week here we can actually start doing some topographic collection and just get the design rolling and appropriate reviews done by both agencies. So at this time, I'm requesting to initiate public improvement 6072, accept Interstate's professional services proposal in the amount of $22,000, and order the project plans and specifications.
Thank you. Brian, any questions on that?
I've got one.
Scott?
I'll offer the motion, and the question I've got for you, Brian, is you mentioned the possibility of needing to look for more money once the study is done and the design work is done. Would there not also be the option to scale the project back to reach, to keep it within that $250,000 as well?
Yes, Councilmember, that is correct. I've already met with the DNR to provide what type of constraints, how many how much parking needs to be or what they anticipate. There has to be a stormwater pond as far as infiltration as well, hence the soil borings that we have to do. There also has to be additional features that I'm not too familiar with, but like containments for invasive species washouts, things of that nature. So I feel we will be able to, but once we get to final design, those estimates, then we'll have a better understanding. This is going to be reviewed by the DNR too as well. So if they got any additional comments or things they want to input into the design, then we'll have to make that determination, and then subsequently the budget as well.
Very good.
Someone like, let's get a second on that. We'll have a motion, someone like the second.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Caroline. Any further discussion, questions for Brian? If not, all in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item number 4 is a roundabout report. Again, Brian Navarro.
Yes, thank you. Back in May 2018, the City Council accepted Otter Tail County's agreement, joint agreement for the Fir Avenue intersection feasibility study. The project initially started with the intersections of Fir Avenue and Freiburg Avenue and Union Avenue and Fir Avenue intersections. However, we expanded this study to include the intersection of Tower Road and Fir. Once conceptual design was complete and reviewed by both parties, we held an open house July 9th, 2019 in these council chambers to gather public input. Due to file size, we placed a link on the city's website where you can review the whole document that includes all the conceptual designs and public input and associated cost estimates. I placed a condensed version in your packet there as well, and if we can kind of I just want to run through a few key points. Number one, with the layouts right now on the screen, this is the preliminary layout that we, between Otter Tail County and city staff, are somewhat proposing. This is conceptual. The associated cost estimate for the preliminary for this particular roundabout is on the order of, I believe it's in your packet there. Excuse me. We're estimating this one at about $2.5 million. Let's go on to the next one. The next preliminary layout is probably our intended one, that intended being the one that we would actually proceed with first. This is located at the intersection of Fir Avenue and Freiburg. This has been a long-range plan here, and perhaps if funding is identified, that we would recommend this roundabout being constructed first. We have an anticipated cost of this particular roundabout at Fir and Freiburg in a total project cost of about $2 million. The last roundabout, perhaps the most complicated one, is located at Union and Fir Avenue. This roundabout, there was many variations. We're actually redoing some additional reviews instead of a roundabout, maybe seeing what minor improvements we can do to this. What a long-range plan. This is pretty much the preliminary layout, what we have come up with. However, the price tag with this roundabout is approximately $3.5 million. So, like I mentioned, this was a joint venture between Otter Tail County and the city. These are preliminary layouts. There is no funding identified for these particular projects. Based on these amounts, you can see the Otter Tail County has been applying for some grants to help fund these projects. However, we've not been successful. They recently made the first round, and the next round coming up is in 2024 for highway safety improvement funds, and we're also looking at additional funding sources for these. I just want to remind, the goal of this study was identify solutions to develop alternatives to improve safety, mobility, and connectivity along Fir Avenue. The recommended roundabouts for each of these 3 study intersections accomplishes this goal. These alternatives are supported by both the county and the city, and were vetted through the public improvement process. So on February 11th, the Otter Tail County Board accepted this final report. I want to note, that's what the requested action I'm requesting of this committee is to accept this report. Please note that these 3 intersection designs are conceptual layouts only. They're subject to a lot of additional public input and modifications once final design is initiated. However, once I mentioned, the funding is the biggest item to be determined. Once that's perhaps located, then we would probably look to do final design, but there's a lot of steps that gotta come before these come to fruition. So at this time, I'm requesting accept SRF's report for the intersection feasibility study for public improvement 5318.
Thanks, Brian. Just a question, particularly with the Union and Fur Avenue. I think we discussed that a little bit through the sales tax question and road improvements, and I think a lot of questions kind of came up about how that might impact the area, particularly the businesses. So by accepting this report, we're not just make it clear, we're not committing to any of these projects. We're not saying that that's what it would look like, or that we, it's just accepting the report that the county initiated for the preliminary study of these.
You're solely accepting the deliverable, which is this report right now.
Yeah.
There's no further action going to be taken with these.
Just want to make that clear that we're not accepting or saying that we approve of this roundabout at that location without,
Correct.
considerably more discussion from the city and from the.
Yes, as you can see too, there's a lot of variations between Union, the intersection of Union and Fur. It's a very difficult intersection, to say the least.
Yeah.
Hence the most expensive. But yes, the number one goal is to provide as much access to the abutting properties as the maximum extent practical, while maintaining the intent of a roundabout.
Sure. That's the one that just most directly impacts, changes the neighborhood, the feel, the businesses and stuff. So I think that's the one that I've heard the most about. We just need to be very sensitive in that one when we talk about moving forward. And there's no funding. This is years in the future. We all know that. But Scott?
I'll offer that.
Yeah.
And I have one question.
Yeah. Someone like to second that?
I'll second that, Your
Go
Honor.
ahead, Scott.
Brian, you said there wasn't any funding yet, and I understand that part of it. But I think you said that Otter Tail County has applied for, but then did not receive any funding through a grant, and that they are continuing to look for funding. Is that what you said?
Correct.
On the city's side, are we also applying for grants? Are we actively doing anything toward finding the funding for this, or are we just waiting to see what Otter Tail County does?
We're pretty much, Otter Tail County being the lead, we're pretty much, no, particularly, we have not solicited for any type of funds. Last round we did was for a TAP application. I'm still awaiting the results for intersection of Union and Stanton right now. But no, for highway safety improvement programs, we usually rely on Otter Tail County to be the lead for applying for those applications.
Okay. I wondered if there would be any advantage to us, particularly for the one at Fur and Freiburg, if that's the one they're actively expecting to get something happening for sooner, if there's any way we can be working along, simultaneously with them to try and find the money at the same time, or if it's just going to be up to us to catch up once they get some kind of a grant.
We do work with them when it comes with the reports and provide the information. But they do have a little bit more staffing ability to apply for some of these grants. However, I want to note the HSIP one was in 2020 was the first round. The next round is in 2024. So there's not a lot of grants too as well to go around when you look at statewide when it comes to these types of items. We may have to look at other alternative sources, such as the cities would be probably more of a state aid, saving up our state aid monies, and along with the county too as well. It depends on, based on all the priorities. If it is the priority of the county and the city, then we need to look at that aspect right now.
Thank you. Brian, any other questions?
I think at this point, $2 million for a roundabout is too much money. I would soon rather see us put $2 million into fixing the roads we've got, basically. So I wouldn't want to see staff waste time on chasing a grant for a roundabout until we fix the roads that we have.
Thanks, Anthony. Other questions, comments? And so with this, we're just accepting the report that's already been completed, the county has accepted, so. But to Anthony's point, if we are going to go out looking for future money, the staff would come to the council with a project that they're actively going after an issue. Is that accurate?
Yes, I guess that's accurate. And, you know, we have not even had the conversations of these 3 roundabouts, what the council would consider as their priority number 1.
Sure.
Based on my conversations with the county and myself, the intersection of Freiburg and Fur has been the most prominent one to begin with. Also the cheapest, if we could say, at $2 million. But we did, the impetus that really started these studies was the county acquired a property right at that intersection. With the acquisition of that property, it enabled the design of a roundabout and to facilitate that type of a layout right there. Without that property becoming available and acquiring, we probably wouldn't be quite at this point. It's always been a long-term plan for this intersection, but if there was funding identified, I would anticipate we'd come back and perhaps start with that particular intersection. I have had discussions from people in regards to trails in that particular area too as well. And yes, and to answer that question, when that does come up, and it has come up, yes, we would be working with in integrating pedestrian improvements with these non-long trails as well.
Sure. Thank you, Brian. So there's a motion and a second to accept the SRF's report. Any other questions? No. All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Brian. Last item it's not on the agenda, but we have one additional item. That is public improvement number 5329, which is the MDOT reconstruction project on Trunk Highway 210. Brian?
Yes, thank you again, Your Honor. Just want to provide you an update in regards to public improvement 5329. This is MnDOT's Trunk Highway 210 reconstruction project. If you recall, we entered into a cooperative construction agreement to lower our utilities that are adjacent to this project. On February 28th, MnDOT accepted bids for this project. Based on the bid price, the city shares increased approximately 30% higher than initially estimated. Pursuant to the cooperative agreement cost schedule I that MnDOT just recently revised based on the actual bid prices, I want to note the city's pro rata share for the mobilization bid item was and remains at 0.3% of the total project cost, joint project cost. However, the apparent low bidder's unit price for mobilization they submitted was 11 times higher than MnDOT's initial estimate. A few additional items were higher than initially estimated, but the mobilization, based on the pro rata share of 0.3, this contributed to a significant portion of our price increase to the city. The table I provided here was the initial estimated costs and then the reflection of the post bid, which is notified in the post bid column. The third column I have here is a net increase. So initially estimated of total project costs of $315,950. With the post bid, we're looking at about $415,700. This is an increase of approximately $100,000 for this total project cost. It's not determined yet if MnDOT's going to award this project. They did receive considerably higher prices of the total project than they estimated, so that's yet to be determined. But if they decide to award the project, they would still plan to start construction here this summer, and they also propose to do a project website. Once I have that information, I will disseminate the information. It's unknown, but the project website will be hosted by MnDOT. With the budgetary impact, I also provided the same table, similar format, and how these increases impact primarily sanitary sewer fund, water fund, and a little bit additional monies from the MSA. So at this time, I'm just offering some information on the bid results, and I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brian. Is there any questions?
So we don't have any say in what happens here to a certain degree?
In a certain degree, no. We entered into agreement with them. However, I have filed a letter with them because they, like I mentioned, District 4 has been meeting with staff, but I did provide a letter with my concerns about based on these bid prices. Is what it determines is when you look at the total project cost of MnDOT, there's not a lot of information I can give you on the project other than it was significantly higher to MnDOT than what the city's occurring rate here. just got off the phone with them. They're still contemplating if they're going to award the project. Generally, they're going to have to shuffle some other projects to make this one. But it sounds like they still might consider this project. It's going to be a great benefit. Just want to note for the city moving west, however significant. But there's in general, towards the end of the project and everything, I still think there's some room for negotiation. District 4 does understand how much this costs the city. We're dealing with pretty much central office with MnDOT. They have made requests and see if there could be amendments to the agreement such as this. However, we've not had any success yet.
Thanks, Brian. Any other questions for Brian?
So what is the city's share? Thank you, I appreciate
Sorry,
it.
we're just speaking.
My brain gets going. What is the city's pro rata share dollar amount right now? Did you say, so it's 0.03% of the total joint agency project cost?
Yes, that was on the mobilization. It's an itemized schedule that they give us, and it's a pro rata amount of 0.03.
So is that using this, would we go off this post bid number right now? Is it 0.03% of that?
Yes, so the mobilization, for example, was approximately $150,000 in the initial estimate. I believe it was $1.6 million that the contractor placed on.
Okay.
I'd rather be us than MnDOT.
What's that?
I'd rather only have a 30% increase than 11 times.
I know, right? Yeah.
I'd like to note, talking with the project manager, they wanted me to know two things. Number one, if there's any questions, she'd be more than happy to come down and speak to the council next Monday. She mentioned to remind as well, if you recall that emergency storm repair south of Walmart, that was some time ago, I provided information update. They took bids on that too as well, and that came in to about $430,000 for that project as well. So they were seeking assistance from the city as well because we were exceeding our permitted flows. And we still are, and we still have to do that review. However, based on the prices that they're able to negotiate, they are covering those costs thus far. I'm not saying that to, other than just want to note it, what MnDOT had said.
So it's just a matter of there's enough work out there that's just what contractors can charge?
Well, it's the market prices. I always call it the confluence of a lot of factors. We know what's going on in the world right now. Could be even the local. There's a lot of determining factors at these times. I'd just be very cautious as we move forward. We have our annual projects that we're doing. We don't have any quite as large as we did in the Mount Faith project as well, but we'd have some smaller ones. Yes, in those instances, we may have to look at the prices. If we don't feel comfortable, we may look to reject the bids and perhaps try a different time.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
We have that ability. We take these bids if they're out of our estimate, we don't feel comfortable. If we feel the market could be better at times, we would do that. Just want and this is kind of, if I can just note as well, when a lot of communities will indicate that let's get these projects out early so we can get bids, well, this is a prime example, in my opinion, of the differences of that. Right now, with these prices, we're not going to, for instance, bid some of our mill and overlays in hopefully another month or so, and maybe we will see a difference in prices, hopefully cheaper. But this early springtime, it's been noted around talking with a lot of peers and right now that they're seeing some significant prices. I believe this project right here is approximately $4 million over the initial estimate.
Ouch.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm concerned, I am very concerned myself, but this is where we got to really look at some of these numbers and see how we want to approach some of these projects.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Brian. Anything else?
I think if I was MnDOT, I'd reject it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the road's not that bad at this point. I think reject it and try again next year.
Well, that was noted in my discussion with them that we wouldn't be lowering these utilities and spending these funds if it wasn't for the project.
Yeah.
So when it comes to our interest, I recommended that, they did not really support the project. However, it would be nice for the community, but at this cost right now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for that update. That's the last item on the agenda. If there's nothing else to come before the committee, one announcement, just remember on Monday at 4 o'clock, there's an informational session on tax increment financing. Baker Tilly will be here along with Clara, and we'll have a good session, get the council and the public up to speed of that. And city council meeting on Monday. And with that, we're adjourned.
Yeah.